This study will complete the book of 1 Kings. This book covers the kings, beginning with King Saul through the split of Israel into north and south under Rehoboam in the south and Jeroboam in the north. The last king covered in 1 Kings is King Ahab, and then he had one son, Ahaziah, who reigned for a very short period. Chapter 21, 1 Kings, verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard that was in Jezreel, hard by the palace of King Ahab of Samaria. And this would have come at the end of the war with the Syrians and Ahab's failure to follow and seek God throughout, ending with a prophecy that he will die. Now, the fact that the vineyard was hard by the palace of Ahab means that it was contiguous to or right next door to it. And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house, and I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it. Or, if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money. Now, this is a violation set down when the land was divided out into allotments, that they were not to trade it or sell it. And they were given a parcel dependent upon the size of the tribe, and they were to hold it forever. And Naboth's vineyard is being coveted, and the king has just asked for it. And 1 Samuel 8, verse 14, God told them, when you get a king, he'll take your sons, he'll take your daughters, he'll take your olive groves, and he will take your vineyards. 3. And Naboth said to Ahab, The Lord forbid it me, that I should give thee the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. So we see that Naboth is very aware of what was laid down in Leviticus 25, verse 23, about the selling or giving of your inheritance. Also, that is covered in Numbers 36, verses 7 and 8. So you see Naboth refusing to break this law set down about the inheritance, but Ahab is breaking commandment number 10 in that he is coveting. We were told not to covet a neighbor's house, wife, vineyard, and so on. So he is covetous of Ahab's vineyard. 4. And Ahab came into his house heavy and displeased because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him, for he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed and turned away his face and would eat no bread. So you see Ahab in a little snit, childish snit, and he wanted the vineyard so that he could have a vegetable garden. 5. But Jezebel, his wife, came to him and said unto him, Why is thy spirit so sad that thou eatest no bread? 6. And he said to her, Because I spoke unto Naboth the Jezreelite, and said unto him, Give me thy vineyard for money, or else, if it please thee, I will give thee another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give thee my vineyard. 7. And Jezebel his wife said unto him, Dost thou now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise and eat bread, and let thine heart be merry. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. Remember that Jezebel is from Sidon. She would not know or care about any of what was laid down in Deuteronomy or Leviticus. And she is the daughter of a Baal priest. She is a Baal worshiper. And we will see that she will go to some what we would consider very sinful lengths to get this vineyard. 8. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters unto the elders and to the nobles that were in the city dwelling with Naboth. So she sent to the important persons. A letter would have been on a piece of paper, papyrus, and it would have been folded 3 times, and then where the last part lapped, a dollop of wax would be dropped onto it, and she used Ahab's signet ring and pressed it into that wax, and that was his signature. And anyone who received this forged letter would assume that it was from Ahab himself. 9. And she wrote in the letter, saying, Proclaim a fast and set Naboth on high among the people. Put him in a place of conspicuous sight, and he is going to be accused of a crime. That's a sign of a crime. And she has called a fast as bad news coming. 10. And set 2 men, sons of Belial, before him, to hear witness against him, saying, Thou didst blaspheme God and the king, and then carry him out and stone him that he may die. Now these witnesses, Belial, that name means lawless and worthless, and these are false witnesses. And I would also point out that in the Strong's, I think it's word 1288, that blaspheme is barak. That's a Hebrew word, and he is set up by liars to be killed. 11. And the men of the city, even the elders and the nobles who were the inhabitants in this city, did as Jezebel had sent unto them, and she had, which she had as it was written in the letters which she had sent unto them. 12. They proclaimed a fast and set Naboth on high among the people. 12. They proclaimed a fast. 13. And there came two men, children of Belial, and sat before him. And the men of Belial witnessed against him, even against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying, Naboth did blaspheme God and the king. Then they carried him forth out of the city and stoned him with stones that he died. So he has been found guilty here of blaspheming God and the king. And why would Jezebel write about blaspheming God? She would not care a bit for the God of the Israelites. Then they sent to Jezebel, saying, Naboth is stoned and is dead. 15. And it came to pass, when Jezebel heard that Naboth was stoned and was dead, that Jezebel said to Ahab, Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, which he refused to give thee for money, for Naboth is not alive, he is dead. This was a sham trial, and the Naboth's, we learn in Kings, the next book of 2 Kings, we learn that Naboth's sons also were stoned, and of course the vineyard would have gone to them by virtue of the rights of inheritance. And the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, 18, Arise, go down to meet Ahab, king of Israel, which is in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, whither he is gone down to possess it. Now the Lord sent Elijah in to help Ahab come against the Syrians, and then at the end he piled up with the king of Syria, calling him a brother, as they were both kings. 18. And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, Hast thou killed and also taken possession? And thou shalt speak to him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, In the place where the dogs licked up the blood of Naboth shall dogs lick thy blood, even thine. And we will find out that that will happen. 20. And Ahab said to Elijah, Hast thou found me, O mine enemy? And he answered, I have found thee, because thou hast sold thyself to work evil in the sight of the Lord. In other words, he has made himself a slave and sold his souls. And the miracles that God performed on Mount Carmel, with the fire coming down and burning stones and licking up water, meant nothing to Ahab. But God has taken opportunity after opportunity to give these kings of the northern tribes an opportunity to turn back to him and away from Baal worship. Behold, Lord speaking, I will bring evil upon thee, and I will take away thy posterity, and will cut off from Ahab him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel. That word there that is thrown around a great deal today was a respectable word at the time of the translation of the King James Bible. And those people who urinate against the wall, it is a Hebrewism, and it simply means that they were males. And he's going to cut off the posterity and all the males out of his house. He will not have much of a place that will be on his descendants to sit on the throne. And I will make, God speaking, to finish the verse 21, those that go against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel. And those who would be shut up would be those who were in a fortified place. So he's going to get all of his descendants. They will be wiped out, the sons. 22, and will make thine house like the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha, the son of Ahiah, for the provocation wherewith thou hast provoked me to anger and made Israel to sin. And that's exactly what happened to that family. They were cut off. Their male descendants were cut off from inheriting anything, especially the throne. 23, and of Jezebel also spake the Lord, saying, the dogs shall eat Jezebel by the wall. And when we get to chapter 9 of 2 Kings, we will see that fulfilled. 24, him that dieth of Ahab in the city, the dogs shall eat, and him that dieth in the field shall the fowls eat. So Deuteronomy 28:26, one of the curses is not getting a decent burial. So his family will be eaten by dogs or by birds. 25. But there was none like unto Ahab, which did sell himself to work wickedness in the sight of the Lord, whom Jezebel his wife stirred up. So he had allowed a Baal worshiper and wife to wear the pants and make the decisions. And he will have to pay. 26, and he did abominably in following idols according to all things, as did the Amorites whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. Those Amorites were one of the Canaanitish peoples, and what he has said here is, of all the kings that have been so far, Ahab has been the most wicked. Verse 27, and it came to pass when Ahab heard these words, that he rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his head, and fasted and lay in sackcloth and went softly. Now we see Ahab here mourning the sackcloth, the fasting. He has humbled himself. He is repenting. And repentance is open to all for every sin that can be committed right now. And he has had this chance. 28, and the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, 29, seest thou how Ahab humbleth himself before me, because he humbleth himself before me, I will not bring the evil in his day, but in his son's days will I bring the evil upon his house. So you see there that God was angry with Ahab, but when he repented, God has shown mercy. Chapter 22, verse 1. And they continued 3 years without war between Syria and Israel. 2. When it came to pass in the 3rd year that Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, came down to the king of Israel. It seems weird that they use the word down there. It is not directional, because actually he would have gone north. Jehoshaphat is the king in Judah. And the king of Israel said unto his servants, Know ye that Ramoth in Gilead is ours, and will be still, and take it out of the hand of the king of Syria? So Syria took Ramoth, and there was a military alliance, and listen to what Jehoshaphat says. And he said unto Jehoshaphat, and his name means who God judges, Wilt thou go with me to battle to Ramoth Gilead? And Jehoshaphat said of the king of Israel, I am as thou art, my people as thy people, my horses as thy horses. So we've got an alliance here, and the reason for it is because of a marriage. Athaliah, who was Ahab's daughter, married Jehoram, who is Jehoshaphat's son, and that makes an affinity, or a kind of a kinship, if you will. 5. And Jehoshaphat said unto the king of Israel, Inquire, I pray thee, at the word of the Lord today. Jehoshaphat was a good king, and he was righteous, and he is telling Ahab to ask God. Ahab replies, Then the king of Israel gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said unto them, Shall I go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? And they said, Go up, for the Lord shall deliver it into the hand of the king. Now, these are those 400 Baal priests that Jezebel had been taking care of, and of course they all agree of one mind, of their own mind, and they tell Ahab what he wants to hear. They are not prophets of the Lord, they are prophets of Baal. 7. And Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of the Lord besides, that we might inquire of him? So we see Jehoshaphat recognizing that these are false prophets. 8. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, There is yet one man, Micaiah, the son of Imlah, by whom we might inquire of the Lord, but I hate him, for he doth not prophesy good concerning me, but evil. And Jehoshaphat said, Let not the king say so. So he gets rebuked from Jehoshaphat. Ahab didn't like a prophet to say anything that would be negative. He expected, and in the Baal idea, Baal worshippers' idea, that the prophet would be able to influence the deity. Not true in the case of a prophet of the Lord. Elijah and other prophets of the Lord say what the Lord says to say, not what the person wants to hear. 9. Then the king of Israel called an officer and had said, Hasten hither Micaiah, the son of Imhah. 10. And the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, sat each on his throne, having put on their robes in a void place in the entrance of the gate of Samaria, and all the prophets prophesied before them. That void place would have likely been a threshing floor, and of course the gate would be the place of judgment. And Zedekiah, the son of Chenaanah, made him horns of iron. And he said, Thus saith the Lord, with these shalt thou push the Syrians until thou have consumed them. This in Deuteronomy 33, we see Moses using a horn like this. These are false prophets, and they are putting on a show. And Moses used that horn to transfer Joseph's blessing to his son Ephraim. Now, this Zedekiah is a false prophet speaking what's in his own head. 12. And all the prophets prophesied so, saying, Go up to Ramoth Gilead and prosper, for the Lord shall deliver it unto the king's hand. They can't speak for God. 13. And the messenger that was gone to call Micaiah spoke unto him, saying, Behold now, the words of the prophets declare good unto the king with one mouth. Let thy word, I pray thee, be like the word of one of them, and speak that which is good. So they are going to speak good. All speak to please the king. 14. And Micaiah said, As the Lord liveth, that the Lord shall said unto me, that will I speak. Now this is an oath, and he's going to give him the true word from the Lord. So he came to the king, and the king said, Micaiah, shall we go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? And he answered him, Go and prosper, for the Lord shall deliver it into the hand of the king. Now he's mocking. He's repeated what those Baal priests have told him. This is not a true prophecy, and he doesn't mean it to be. 16. And the king said unto him, and he said, How many times shall I adjure thee that thou tell me nothing but that which was true in the name of the Lord? He said, he's questioning. 18. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, Did I not tell thee that he would prophesy no good concerning me, but evil? I missed a verse. 17. Here's the true prophecy. And he said, I saw all Israel gathered upon the hills as sheep that have not a shepherd. And the Lord said, These have no master. Let them return every man unto his house in peace. So this is the true prophecy of what will happen. And Ahab The king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, Did I not tell thee that he would prophesy no good concerning me, but evil? He wants to hear a good word, true or not. 19. And he said, Hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. 20. And the Lord said, Who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this matter, and another said on that. So even he had the angels in heaven were not of one mind. And unlike the Baal priest who spoke all to the positive. 21. And there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him, or I will deceive him, is what the meaning of that is. 22. And the Lord said unto him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, Thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so. So he will be a lying spirit in the mouth of these 400 prophets of Baal. 23. Now therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of these thy prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil concerning thee. 24. But Zedekiah the son of Shaniah went near and smote Micaiah on the cheek and said, Which way went the Spirit of the Lord from me to speak unto thee? So this is the leader of the 400 Baal prophets, and he has hit the real prophet of the Lord. 25. And Micaiah said, Behold, thou shalt see in that day when thou shalt go into an inner chamber to hide thyself. 26. And the king of Israel said, Take Micaiah and carry him back unto Ammon, the governor of the city, and to Joash, the king's son. So what he's saying here is take him back to prison. And we learn in 2 Chronicles chapter 18 that he was imprisoned. 27. And say, Thus saith the king, Put this fellow in the prison, and feed him with bread of affliction, with water of affliction, until I come in peace. So he's going to be fed a scanty meal that may not even be fresh or pure. 28. And Micaiah said, If thou return at all in peace, the Lord hath not spoken by me. And he said, Hearken, O people, every one of you. So he spoke what he had said as a true prophet of the Lord will happen. 29. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, went up to Ramoth Gilead. 30, verse 30. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, I will disguise myself and enter into battle, but put thou on thy robes. And the king of Israel disguised himself and went into the battle. So he did not wear his kingly attire. He's in there pretending to be just a regular soldier. 31. But the king of Syria commanded his 32 captains that had rule over his chariot, saying, Fight neither with small nor great, save only with the king of Israel. So he's after old Ahab. He is not going to, that's his main goal, is to get Ahab. 32. And it came to pass when the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat that they said, Surely it's the king of Israel. And they turned aside to fight against him, and Jehoshaphat cried out. And in Chronicles, when this is related, it says that he cried out to the Lord. He asked for God to help him. 34. 33. And it came to pass, when the captains of the chariots perceived that it was not the king of Israel, that they turned back from pursuing him. They don't want Jehoshaphat, they want Ahab. 34. And a certain man drew a bow at a venture, and smote the king of Israel between the joints of the harness. Wherefore he said unto the driver of his chariot, Turn thine hand, and carry me out of the host, for I am wounded. All right, just by chance, someone shot an arrow, and it got Ahab, and he's asked to be taken out because he is wounded. 35. And the battle increased that day, and the king was stayed up in his chariot against the Syrians, and died at even, and the blood ran out of the wound into the midst of the chariot. 36. And there went a proclamation throughout the host, or the army, about the going down of the sun, saying, Every man to his city, and every man on his own country. So prophecy is coming true. They are moving to go back to their homes. 38. 37. So the king died and was brought to Samaria, and they buried the king in Samaria. He did get a decent burial. 38. And one washed the chariot in the pool of Samaria, and the dogs licked up the blood, and they washed his armor according unto the word of the Lord which he spake. The prophecy is to come true. 39. Now the rest of the acts of Ahab, and all that he did, and the ivory house which he made, and all the cities that are built, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? 40. So Ahab slept with his fathers, and Ahaziah his son reigned in his stead. 41. And Jehoshaphat the son of Asa began to reign over Judah in the 4th year of Ahab the king of Israel. We're backing up in time there. Jehoshaphat began to reign when Ahab had been on the throne for 4 years. And Jehoshaphat was 35 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 25 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Azubah, daughter of Shahai. And that would have been the genealogy of Jehoshaphat. Asa, his father, was also a good king. And he walked in all the ways of Asa, his father. He turned not aside from doing that which was right in the eyes of the Lord. Nevertheless, the high places were not taken away, for the people offered and burnt incense yet in the high places. They were doing godly worship, but it was illegal, as it was not to have been done in the high places. And Jehoshaphat made peace with the king of Israel, because their family, they have that affinity due to the marriage of the son and daughter. 45. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat and his might that he was showed, and how he warred, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the Kings? Yes, 2 Chronicles chapter 18. 46. And the remnant of the Sodomites which remained in the days of his father Asa, he took out of the land. In 47. And there was no king in Edom. A deputy was the king. There was no royal line there. And he took out those sodomites. Those would have been male prostitutes, and he did take them out. 47. Jehoshaphat made ships of Tarshish to go to Ophir for gold, but they went not, for the ships were broken at Eziongeber. There was no port for them to get into. 49. Then said Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, unto Jehoshaphat, Let my servants go with thy servants in the ships. But Jehoshaphat would not. He learned a lesson from his venture with Ahab. 50. And Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, his father. And Jehoram, his son, reigned in his stead. And remember, Jehoram's wife was the daughter of Ahab. 51. And Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Samaria the 17th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 2 years over Israel. Very short reign. 52. And he did evil in the sight of the Lord, and walked in the ways of his father, in the ways of his mother, in the way of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. So this offspring of Ahab, 2-year reign, but he behaved as his parents and as Jeroboam, the original king of the northern tribes. 53. To complete this book. For he served Baal and worshipped him, and provoked the anger of the Lord God of Israel, according to all that his father had done. This ends 1 Kings. 1 Kings is actually, and 2 Kings are actually one book. When this was translated into the Greek, it took far more words and room, and it took more scrolls. So at the end of the scroll, it was called 1 Kings. This has been an outreach of the Essex Methodist Church and the Crossroads Methodist Church in Dexter, Missouri.